Hello, it's Beverly with the Intuitive Interior. It is time for the June 2025 I Ching reading. So, we are on an interesting month because we just came off of the double snake, the double yin wood snake month in the yin wood snake year. Now we are moving into the water horse month, the yang water horse month. Now let's kind of just break this down a little bit, just so before I even get into the I Ching part, want to talk about why a water horse month is, well, interesting. First of all, water is the yang water. Think about a waterfall, a fast moving stream. This is emotional. This is movement. This is excitement, and people can get swept away in excitement. We also now have the horse. The horse is it's at its core, it is a fire element. A horse is powerful. It can, pull an entire wagon. It can be a racehorse. It can be used to harness the energy to plow a field. It can, I grew up on a horse farm, and I used to barrel race, and it's a lot of fun. Um, until they get scared, until they get skittish, and then they can get out of control. So you have now two opposite elements. You've got your water, your waterfall, and your very powerful firing energy of the horse, both of which really need boundaries. They really need to know how to be, contained and controlled, or at least know how to work with those elements. You also have, again, fire and water. Fire and water together can sometimes do amazing things, like powering a locomotive. It can, a steam plant can, move an entire ship across the ocean. It can also, the steam that pressure cookers. So in the past, we had the pressure cookers. I mean, that combination, you put it together and it cooks your food very quickly. Who doesn't love a good Instapot? But it can also be, we says, unfortunately, the people who were in Boston at the time of the bombing find out that, hey, you throw a bunch of little like shrapnel things in there and find a way to attach a timer, and it can become a bomb. I'm not trying to scare folks. I'm just letting you know that there are opposite ways that this can be looked at. What I'm feeling this month is, truthfully, we should be able to have both of the kind of the opposite sides of things. We can have the more active movement things, but we're going to have a little bit more of a calming down thing. So I just got this new deck from Vicky Iskandar. And so this is what the cards look like. Aren't they lovely? It is this beautiful image of a dragon and a phoenix, and the phoenix's tail feathers. They have beautiful colors, and so it kind of is representing the elements there. But this is the water horse image. So if you look at it, it is that of a red horse galloping through the surf with two dolphins jumping out of the water behind, and the sun shining. And, this just looks like a very joyful image. I know I said all this kind of scary things up front, but we do have to be careful because water is the element that is most often associated with fear. We carry a lot of that internal energy, and so we can, get overwhelmed at times with that emotional energy. The horse, that fire element, that's, play and joy and just living life out loud. I think we can expect both of those things, but it is really important for us to use the element of the courage and the power of the horse this month to just notice our fears. look at what is it that we're afraid of and do it anyway. Acknowledge it and then move forward. A personal story. Growing up, I learned how to ride horses long before I ever learned how to ride a bicycle. In fact, a horse never broke any bones. A bicycle did. So I have always had very good experiences with horses. And I also learned how to respect their intuition. I learned how to respect and give them time and space to be able to address whatever it was that they were afraid of. Because if you tried to force a horse to cross a moving body of water or even just a puddle, they will buck you off before they are doing something that they don't feel comfortable doing. And so sometimes you just have to, as a writer, you have to stay calm, because if you're agitated, the horse picks up on that energy and it's like, yep, nope, she's not believing it. We are not doing that. But if you are able to stay grounded and maintain your calm, you then put that trust, the horse trusts you, and then you can then work together as a unit to overcome whatever obstacles are there. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as I go through the rest of this reading. So when you look, when I was doing my I Ching readings, you take the water element and that Yang water element and the horse element, and it puts it together for a hexagram. So the hexagram this time, it goes to number 57, and it's called the gentle. Now, who doesn't love riding a gentle horse? Yes, that is the best thing. I've ridden some horses that were not always the nicest, but the gentle ones, oh, I don't know, they're so peaceful. Okay, getting back off of the horse thing. This has the same lines right here. It's the yin, the trigram for yin wood. So we have sun over sun, and the image on here is that of a very calm Asian woman in her kimono. Looks like has a bunch of flowers all over her. The words here are penetrating, a soft approach, faith, moderation, a subtle but deep influence, understanding, and nonviolence. So again, going back to my talk about the horses and that are trying to cross over a maybe not go through a waterfall, but crossing over a moving stream. You have to take your time. You have to be gentle in your approach, and gentle and not like careful as you're making sure you're going over, because even as a human trying to walk over a moving water, yeah, it's slippery. So you have to be a little bit cautious. Progressing slowly, silently, and steadily is often where the most lasting results are achieved. Thinking about this may not be the month, according to this reading, to make really big, loud splashes. Like, hey, I'm gonna uh, uh, make a huge explosion as to what I am going to be doing for the next 10 months, whatever your goal things are. This is the month to just slow and steady, just keep on moving. Notice as things might be shifting around you so that you can adapt. And let's see, the other thing here, it says to be patient, and by being patient and surrounding yourself with a sense of spaciousness, you are able to perceive the meandering course of the Tao that will bring the right conclusions to your efforts at the right time. Be uncompromising in clearing away any mental debris that might be creating doubt, or at the other extreme, the kind of overconfidence that can sabotage the subtle but deep progress that has already been made. Staying on the path of least resistance will be the most intelligent approach to the current circumstances. So yeah, rein your horse in this month. Just keep on keeping on. Now the clarifying cards that I drew were number 59, dispersion. Dispersion. This has the trigrams over here for the yin metal on the bottom, or excuse me, yang. No, I'm sorry, read the wrong thing. Water, the kan on the bottom, and yin wood on the top. Um, the words here on this one are diffuse negativity, restore harmony, circulate, revitalize, dissolve divisions, and lighten up. Again, nothing like moving water to dissolve things. I mean, we all had some kind of science growing up. We know how you put like a little bit of uh, item in a big body of water and it dissolves. It's the basis of homeopathy. You put the energy of this whatever the toxin is, and it becomes so dissolved, but the energy is still there to help your body recognize that, oh wait, I this isn't that bad, I can fix this. um, it's has the image of a person playing a flute, and the leaves are, the wind is blowing the leaves all over there, so it's dispersing whatever that energy is. This particular focus line is number 3, and number 3, again, it goes from the bottom up. So this is right at that cusp where you're moving from the inner world determinations to the outer world of action. So this says now might be a good time to experiment with putting your own agenda to one side and taking a fresh look at what's best for the overall milieu in which you work and live. This might seem like a call to altruism, but in fact, it's not. You will be the first to benefit from any selfless efforts you might make to bring people together. This might be a wonderful month for you to organize a block party. It might be a good time to, or like if you're living in an apartment complex, surprise people with an invitation for a gathering, maybe in the community center. Everybody loves to get together and know people, but not everybody wants to actually take the action step. Horse energy is about action. It's that fire energy. And it is most commonly comfortable in the South. And the South sector is about fame and reputation. So again, it's about sharing with people. It's about speaking things out to the universe. It's about not being afraid to be seen and heard. And because this is in line 3, it means this is the action month. So you are take that action step, and say hi. You never know whose world you might change. Maybe you're just in the grocery store. Say hi. Okay, the second clarifying card I got was number 34, Great Power. Now, this again has come up a couple of different times, and I think it was actually last month we had this one as well. Great Power. There's it looks like a again Asian sage. There's a dragon on the very top of the person's head, and there's the around the midsection here. There is the image of all of the trigrams in a circle around there in that dantian, that power center. And the words here are, excuse me, I'm sorry. The hexagrams here, the bottom on that one is the yang metal, on the top is yang wood. So think of an axe. You can do a lot of good things with an axe to either, start working on, well, anyway. Okay, I'm going down a fun little rabbit hole there. The words here are strength of character, authority, dignity, influence, self-confidence, leadership, peak condition, and potency. The last time we had this card, I think we had a different focus line. But this focus line 3, again, it's taking that action step. Perhaps this is a time for you to claim your power as a leader somehow in your community. Perhaps this is the time when you get to be looked at as a little bit of an authority over, like, okay, maybe you're doing some research on something. I mean, I've just been working really hard lately on perfecting baking sourdough bread. I'm going to be teaching another friend how to do that. It doesn't have to be changing the world. It can just be something very simple and helping others to understand things. But here, this is the caution, because you've done the work in the internal self. You've been doing the things. It says here, it is all too easy to begin believing that just because you're in a position of influence, that you have the right to impose your opinions on others. This is dangerous territory to enter. No one appreciates being made to feel inferior or told that they're in the wrong. Great power, there's that saying, with great power comes great responsibility. If you've been doing your work, you'll understand that you're always able to learn more. And just because what works for you doesn't mean that it's right for others. There are so many laws that are being proposed or have been dissolved or imposed, all based on my way is the right way. Those are the things that, I mean, whether it's a law or a rule, or maybe it's an HOA thing, maybe it's a national thing, maybe it's a state thing, maybe it's a city thing, I don't know. But this is an opportunity to speak up, because again, horse, throat chakra, fame and reputation. Take the time to say your piece, but do it in a way that is grounded. Because as soon as you start coming at something from a fear-based or you got to listen to me, no one's going to listen to you. They're going to do the exact opposite. Again, horse, skittish. You have to be calm. You have to come at it from a grounded place. Okay. It's one of the things here, I wanted to point this out. It says here, your self-respect, character, and dignity are being put through an endurance test. It can mean that there might be some intense grappling with inner demons like greed, narcissism, and pride, to name just a few. And you might have to make hard choices, knowing that any decisions that you make now will have far-reaching consequences, not only for yourself, but for others as well. So, calm, grounded. Okay, the last clarify card is number 60, limitations. This has the image of, well, it's again another one of these sages, with this older man with not old. He's still doesn't have gray hair, but the beard, the Zen monk kind of guy with the moon behind him. And in his lap, where normally is, would just be his hands, there appears to be a pool with a lotus flower floating on there. So this was, again, going about inside, looking at where you're seeing limitations, where you need some limitations, also known as boundaries, and how to capitalize on that. So the words here, as I knock my computer off, the trigrams here, the hexagram here, the bottom is the yin metal, and the top is a water, the kan. So yin metal is jewelry. It is the softer piece, softer type elements of metal. It's also beauty, etc. So limitations: self-discipline, practice, self-respect, introspection, ritual, cultivate patience, build up energy, and maturity. The reason why I brought up the term, boundaries is when you're learning how to bowl, you need the little gutter lines. You need the little railings up there so that you don't get so disturbed and discouraged. You want to be able to find success, but you need some of those limitations. This one particular focus line is line 4. And line 4 here says the natural limitations that promote growth can only benefit you if you incorporate them into your everyday life. Take note of any nagging complaints that might be whispering in your ear, acknowledge them, and carry on. Don't try to push them away. That will only make them nag you more. This is the time to turn a deaf ear. Earlier, I spoke about the need to really pay attention to what you might be afraid of. You, again, talking about the horse, the analogy of the horse wanting to cross the stream. You have to acknowledge that there's something there that is, well, it could be a little overwhelming. It could be very frightening. It could be possibly damaging to you. Acknowledge it, but don't allow the fear of that to run away with you. Um, I've only had the experience once, really, with a horse so where it takes the bit in its mouth. The reason why the horse has the bit there is because it's painful on the tender parts of their gums in the back. And that's the thing, you have to be very careful with that, knowing that you start jerking on that bridle, it really hurts them, and nobody really wants to hurt. Um, I mean, I would hope no one would really want to go out of their way to hurt an animal. I know there are people who do that, and we're going to pass on that. But when the horse would get its mindset that, no, this is what we're doing, you have no choice, that's when you do have to pull the horse's head to the side. So if that horse is charging towards a cliff or charging back to the barn, or I got a scar to prove it when the horse decided to go underneath a low-hanging branch and just clocked me off. You learn very quickly that, okay, sometimes you have to pull that bridle to the side and pull the horse's head to the side, because they cannot run in a straight line if you're pulling their head to the side. So this is adding the limitation. This is why I'm bringing this up. Knowing if something is happening and it is, taking you down a direction that you're not comfortable with, you have to add your own limitation. You have to pull your attention away from whatever it is that is causing potential harm for you, and give yourself that time to slow down. It is frustrating to have to do that, but this is actually a good thing, because limitations can be immensely productive and strengthening if you can work with them rather than fight against them. A harness can feel like a restraint or a support. It depends on your attitude. So this will be a month where you get to look at, where do you feel like you're being called to look at those limitations around you as the support, or as, a harness. Is this an opportunity for growth, or is this an opportunity to find ways to meditate and go within and make peace with what is? So the meditate, this is really going to be a good time to meditate as to what it is that you are looking to achieve. But then, because this one particularly is line 4, this is really going to be more about how we are perceiving our outside world. The first 2 cards were really internal, and then moving that internal reflection to the outside world. This part is about, how can I discipline myself? How can I impose my own limitations on myself rather than feeling like everybody else is doing it for me? How can we use that as discipline to move better and move more easily in the outside world? So many of these cards this month do speak about becoming very aware of how we are wielding our power. Our power really does come about knowing what we have available to us and how can we use that to stay as grounded and as calm as possible? Um, I this by the way, this whole reading goes from June 5th through July 6th. Again, I'm going to go back and look at the dates. I'll put some of these down in the show notes. But the annual year, the conflict animal for the entire year is the pig, because it's 6 months from on either side. So the snake month is May. The pig month is November. And so so pig is anybody who has pig in their chart. This is going to be a year of transformation. It's going to be a year of clarification. It's that conflict, that sandpaper. This month, because the opposite side of horse, June, is December, which is rat. And so anybody who has rat in their chart is also going to find that kind of conflict, and that's okay. That doesn't mean it's bad. It might, so much of it is mindset. So much. It is change. It is, how are we going to take whatever has not been working for us and shift it into something more positive? So those dates are going to be in the show notes if you'd like to have those. And if you want to think back to the last year that we had, that was a water horse year, that would have been 2002. Now, for me, 2002 was very transformative. That was the year I got to have the bulk of my breast cancer experience. So, yeah. But I think about all the amazing things that came from that time of great limitation, that time of truly great power, because that's when I discovered how to advocate for myself. And a lot of the old ideas that I used to have about what made life worth living, the wind just blew them away. So I hope you have a wonderful June. If you have any questions about this reading, or if you would like to have a reading of your own and do some energy work around that, I've got the link down in the description below. Have a wonderful, wonderful June.